Poppa Rotzee.
What's up, guys? It's Kobe Black, also known as Poppa Rotzee, here to give you an interview with some questions provided by Stuart Norris. Alright, so, number one. So tell me about yourself and how it all began. Well, for me, it all began when I was about 5 years old. I was kind of like everybody else growing up in the 80s. I was really into Bruce Lee, into like ninjas and stuff like that, and I always wanted to be a ninja. And so about the closest thing you could get to being a ninja was studying, karate or taekwondo or something like that. So that's what I did. My parents took me to the local taekwondo school that opened right at the front of my neighborhood. And it was this Korean guy who was fresh out of Korea. He was a black belt world champion and a really awesome guy. And really hardcore. And he was like, I mean hardcore, like if you were late and you were 5 years old, you were still doing push-ups on your knuckles on the gravel. And like, if you screwed up a technique, he would hit you in the back of the head with like the kicking pad. These are kids and stuff like that. Freaking out if you weren't there on Sundays, to the point where like parents are like, gotta calm down. This is America, man. You can't be, beating kids and stuff like that. And he didn't care. Like See, in Korea, like Taekwondo is kind of like Jiu-Jitsu is in, in Brazil, or, baseball was in America. They take that really serious and stuff like that. And that's kind of like the mentality they had about it, And so he was my instructor, and I did really well in it, and I won every city and state sparring competition that you could win, all the way until eventually I got to the Junior Olympics. I won 6 or 7 matches, and then lost in the final to this kid by a couple of points, and then came back, continued studying, and got my black belt. My instructor wanted me to move in with him and train to go to the actual Olympics, and like kind of live with them and everything, and my parents didn't want me to do it after they thought about it, and we ended up moving away from Houston. So I traveled around, and I started trying some different, some other martial arts. Like I tried Kung Fu, like I said, I always was into Bruce Lee and wasn't a fit for me, and then I tried some other karate schools and some other Taekwondo schools, and just nothing was, it wasn't the same, like my instructor was really, really legit, and these places were like, were headed by like some overweight guys who couldn't kick over like their waist, and it was just really hard to get back into it. And so eventually what happened is, I kind of moved out of martial arts and started playing like football and, baseball and stuff like that. So then in 1993 was like the first UFC, and so it's something I'd been waiting for like a really long time. I'd always been waiting for the chance to see somebody like apply martial arts in a real life scenario. Back then, the only place you could ever see martial arts being used was like, in a movie or in a classroom or in a tournament. There was no, no YouTube. There was no anything. You know what I mean? So this was like the first chance for all martial artists to finally get to see their martial arts being applied in real life scenarios. It was crazy. I couldn't wait to see it. And of course, I'm rooting for the strikers. That's what I've been doing the whole time, with Taekwondo and everything. So I was waiting for them to come fight, because I personally was always kind of disappointed in myself because I never reached that point where I could block like 3,000 punches and saw punches coming and I was moving out of the way. Like I never really reached that point where like you always see in the martial arts movies. And I always thought that was real at some level or another. And so I was waiting to see these were the masters. These guys had to have got it, and I was going to get to see them do that kind of stuff. And I thought I was about to watch a Kung Fu fight, to be honest with you, when the first UFC came out. And I was watching it, and they got in their stances, and they may have thrown like one good punch, and then after that it turned into like a brawl. It was like hugging, wrestling, clinching, and throwing real wide punches. It looked like a high school, school fight or something like that. And I was like really shocked and disappointed, and so then, I seen Hoist Gracie come in there, and he was like the only guy who would come in there and was using actual techniques. He was using things that he learned and practiced, and then applying them against live resisting opponents. And I was like, what is this? I was like so excited to see this, because kind of like Wolverine said it. He said it best. It was like real life kung fu. It was like the first time and chance you ever got to see somebody applying martial arts in real life scenarios, and it was awesome. And I was immediately hooked. Every armbar and every triangle, I was just like, man, this is what I want to do. And the only problem was there was no legit schools, and I'd already been through this whole McDojo thing, and it seemed like the Gracies were the only ones doing it, and so I was really depressed, because I was really getting into it, but there's just really no place to do it. So that was kind of my first interest in Jiu-Jitsu and how it all began for me there. What brought me to Draculino? What brought me to Draculino was a buddy of mine named Brent Childers. One day when he was drunk watching the UFC and saw Chuck Liddell lose, he decided that he wanted to start fighting. And so he called me up and told me, and I was, kind of like, yeah, you're going to be a fighter, and kind of laughing it off. And then he ended up signing up with Sam Hoger and fought for or trained for like a whole year over there, would come over and show me stuff from time to time, and started building that fire inside myself again to want to compete and train and do all that kind of stuff again. And so, after a little bit, I was sitting there one day at home, and I think I was Googled Houston Jiu-Jitsu, and a picture of this guy in a gi popped up, and it was kind of hard to tell who it was from the angle and everything. And I think it was like a Facebook page, or maybe I think it's probably MySpace back then actually. And the way the angle was, I think maybe Captain was taking the picture because it was like this real tall guy looking down on Drac. So the way the angle of it looked, kind of like, I can't even do it. Like, it just looked like this little kid, like that was in a gi training. And so whenever I saw him, I just immediately sent a message like, "Hey, where do you train at?" And before I even kind of looked to see who this guy was, and then as I scrolled down, and I saw the name Draculino. I realized I was like, "Oh man!" I just asked Draculino, "Where does he train at?" It's like kind of condescending in a way, and I was like, realized what happened. So I gave him a call, and I was like, "Hey, I just realized that you have a school here, and I was really interested in coming by and checking the place out." And he was like, "Ah, man, just come train, come jump into class." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, let's go." And so I drove over there, and first person I met was Samuel Braga. He was still one of the head instructors down here at the time, and he was real nice and showed me the facility and introduced me to Draculino. And he immediately made me feel welcome. He was real charismatic and funny and everything, and told me to go ahead and jump into class. And so I jumped into class, and I had a blast. I knew immediately, as soon as the class was ended, I was sold. I was probably like the easiest sale ever. I just walked in there, I was like, I want to sign up. Where did I sign up? And I knew I was going to be there forever, and I haven't looked back since. So, how did you progress to become his right-hand man, and how long have you been with him? I've been with him, we're going on our 4th year. I wouldn't say I'm his right-hand man or anything like that. I'm kind of like his PR guy on the internet, so to speak. I'm kind of the one who does all his videos and, kind of answers questions for people. I'm kind of like a liaison, so to speak, between the internet world and him. But at the gym, probably the closest to his right hand would be Wolverine. And, and Belozanchi is probably Marcelo Azevedo, Chichi and Calquino and all those guys. But, here we're kind of like a team, at the school to keep it running. We all kind of help each other. We all kind of know each other's job. It's a great place to train, great place to work, and I love it.